Streets and Infrastructure Committee, regular meeting of the City of Bisbee, County of Cochise, State of Arizona, to be held on Thursday, January 23rd, 2020, at 5:30 p.m. In the City of Bisbee, the Public Works Conference Room located at 915 South Toverville, Bisbee, Arizona. The meeting was called to order by Matthew at 5:45 p.m. Roll call. Benjamin Lepley.
Here.
Frank Cabello.
Here.
Lawrence Stone.
Here.
Lou Pollock.
Here.
And Stephen Day.
Here.
Alright, and Matthew Gurney, staff liaison, coming in for Jesus Harrell. Alright. Call to the public, I guess. We don't have to call the public.
Any emails and phone calls?
No one here from the public.
Alright, old business. I guess I can I'll do a pavement update. We haven't been doing a whole lot of pavement. We purchased 30 tons 2 weeks ago for doing potholes around town. So that's the only thing we've been doing recent. Yeah, that's all I have to give for that as far as pavement update. I mean, we can, if you want, we can talk about future, what we want to do. Future? Okay. I know future, we're looking to do some of the roads in Warren, a couple roads in Warren. Like, I think what was it? Diatremont and Briggs. At least the east end of it, closest to Arizona, between Arizona Street and East Vista. Those are the worst parts. Try and get those the worst parts. And then hopefully, and then see if we have any other money before the end of the physical, then we'll look at maybe continuing that or going down doing part of Powell too, because the bottom part of Powell is really bad also. So that's update for us.
When do you think we'll be able to do Tremont and Briggs and Powell?
End of March, beginning of April, depending on weather. Yeah, we have to have the ground temp has to be above like 40, 42 degrees in order to lay asphalt is the proper. So.
And did Jesus get a new oil truck approved, or to look at getting an oil truck for Fog Seal? And
Yes, we got approved to put an RFP out. So we just got an approval to put the RFP out to get. We have one in mind. I've already talked to them. We got pricing. We got pictures. We got video. It looks like a pretty good one, but we have to put it out, and I have to contact him as soon as it goes out to RFP. Say, hey, it's open. It's on the website. Hey, put in your information. So, and then we'll see. Maybe we'll get even a better deal to come in also. So
what's their price?
Huh?
What's their price?
It is a 2001, and it's a 10-foot bar, spray bar. It's in immaculate condition for a oil truck. Usually they're
Dirty.
gobbed up and everything. Yeah. But the guy said, the seller, he just sells them. The companies give them to him to sell. And he said this is the cleanest one he's ever had come in. And it's he said he thinks they just did like dust control or something with it. Anyways, he's asking $49,500 with 6.3% tax down, because we're not tax exempt for purchases.
do we have the ability now to put asphalt in cracks? What do you use, like
Crack seal?
wand? Yeah.
We don't have a crack sealer.
Would this truck be able to accommodate that?
And this truck would be like for chipper seal?
No, this will be for if we're needing to before we do put asphalt down. We put the tack wall down before, and then we put the asphalt on top. And it's to also fog seal all the streets that we've done before, plus there's some chip roads out there that need to be fogged. There's a lot of roads that need to be, we're getting behind because we haven't had anything, and the little trailer that we tried to use, we used it in Briggs, but it just didn't, it's not the greatest. And it doesn't get a very good even spray like this will. So I mean, we need one of these to preserve our older roads that we've paved, or even before that have had asphalt or even chip before that. So it's gonna be a really good thing. The street guys are looking forward to it also.
Is there a machine? Is it the same oil or different oil that you use for crack filling versus fog seal?
Yeah,
Fog seal is much lighter oil.
Yeah, it's much lighter. Crack seal is a really thick, like goopy stuff.
Okay.
It's like roof tar.
But that's also a wintertime thing. That's my point's like it's wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
And keep the guys busy in winter.
Yeah. Oh,
Use the
believe me,
funds.
we're busy.
Yeah.
Believe me, we got stuff to do.
Yeah, but is it streets and infrastructure stuff?
Huh?
Is it streets and infrastructure stuff?
Not all, but some.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So, and then as far as we don't have a crack sealer or anything, and they've never operated a crack sealer because that can be pretty technical.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I was just watching a crew in
Because you have to be
Pima County doing it.
pressure machine.
Yeah, and then they get the little V shovel thing.
Yeah. Yeah. The city of Sierra Vista does their own also.
But that might be a pretty good idea for some of the roads that are a little bit worse than just what fog seal needs. Kind of those ones that are in the middle. Pima County does a lot of it.
Yeah, fog seal is for the ones that are still
Yeah.
that are
Pretty new.
5 years and older.
Okay.
And then the ones that are bad cracks. And that's why we have to do our pavement study. And we're gonna start having our guys go out, pick 2 days out of the month. Like in February, we're gonna start in February, pick 2 days out of the month, and they do nothing but road studies. They're gonna go out in golf carts or dirt trucks or whatever and do road studies.
And I think also should be added are retaining walls.
Yep.
Because they're turning into a huge liability, as some sure you know.
Yep. I do.
Somebody's putting a brand new one in there on Naco Road going into Bisbee.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, John Scott.
Above
Yeah,
the...
they built that one there.
Yeah.
So does John Sky doing that?
Yeah. So that's PV
There's a
update.
lot of them.
We are looking at in the new fiscal year to do Tombstone Canyon, hopefully.
Good.
So we can get that all done.
And do you know if restriping and parking and stuff is gonna...
Yeah, that'll all be included. All the parking that's public parking, we'll be doing all that. Getting that all cleaned up, and then everything will get restriped. Yeah, that's why it needs to be restriped now. But why do it now? And then in 3-4 months, we're gonna have to do it again. So that's old business number 1. Anybody have any for that? Okay. Financial update with income source updates. I have Lorena printed out the stuff that you asked for, and I also have the actual streets budget. Also, if you guys want, you can pass it around. There's 3 different sheets we can look over. I'm not the best at looking at budget numbers, but I'm learning, getting there. I used to be in the streets, so I'm trying to learn all this stuff.
Oh, wait a minute, I got get quick
Pass
here.
along then.
So, yeah.
And then you want to pass these out? What you wanted for that Lorena's. She said that you had asked her to print some stuff off.
I don't recall doing
Well, anyway, this is what Lorena's like tally. Oh, here, pass around. Like
All
I did
right.
before.
I think
Sorry.
there's somebody
That's
else that
okay.
asked for that.
Okay, well anyways, this is
Oh,
the tally that Lavanda keeps
old-fashioned
of
kind.
everything that Streets has, purchased for the 1% tax. Well, not, there's some stuff, I think,
remember
she
last
doesn't do the manpower,
Remember what?
man hours and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, this is
You
for
remember
materials.
Yeah.
I was in here on Tuesday or something, and I asked her if she had one, and she said she was preparing it.
So, this is it.
Right. Good.
So we can, if we look at the,
Starting in 2015, that's the whole.
we can start with, the main one. I don't know if you wanna just look through it and ask if you have any questions. The 1% tax, let me find it.
Here we go. Look at that. It's on here. This is where we bought that equipment.
Safety supplies.
That's on the, are we looking at the little balance sheet type thing here?
Yeah, this one?
This
Or
Oh,
these.
okay, all right. Well, the 1% sales tax appears on the, the short sheet.
Okay.
On the long sheet here that you were looking for numbers on, when it says period actual, what period is that? The 5 months or the 1 month or?
I think that's before the physical year, I believe. And then what we budgeted, period and year to date actual. I'm not positive on that.
So the period might just have been a month, 1 month, period. Year to date.
I know under the budget, that's what was budgeted, and then what the unexpended is what is left.
Well, generally, we get about $60,000 in a month. So if we spent about 60, that would make sense to be about a month.
So right here, if you look, it's under street repair, maintenance, and it says sales tax. That's the 1% sales tax also. Believe that, and we have 221 left as of now, and we are at. Does it say what percentage we're at? We're at 42% of the fiscal year
Yeah.
has elapsed. So. And that asphalt hot oil distributor truck will come from this. Also.
That 221, right?
Yeah.
Which is consistent with how we got the first equipment.
Yes, that's how we bought the first equipment, all of it, and then that's why we'll do this also. And we're gonna try and get this truck before the end of the fiscal. So we have to get it beforehand. So.
Oh,
Assuming that the actual period was 1 month and the period ended in November 30th, so the streets and infrastructure picked up $58,668 worth of expenditures, as they're itemized here in the left-hand column, but there wasn't really any paving done because it was too cold.
What page are you looking at? The short one?
The long one, long
Okay.
page.
Salaries.
Yeah, it does cover, well, one, all the salaries, or if there's any other jobs that fall into the infrastructure, that could have come from there too.
Yeah,
I don't know, 'cause this is from November,
right.
so, Honestly, I can't remember what was going on in November.
But it seems as though the expenses run about $60,000 a month for labor and such. And I'm just questioning whether that's a legitimate charge toward the 1% sales tax street and infrastructure fund when it doesn't really go to pay for streets. I know there's been quite a bit of discussion about, well, it's really streets and infrastructure, so you can't really pin down how many square feet of paving we ought to get for $720,000 a year, because so much of it could just go, this infrastructure has become an unknowable variable in the equation of how many square feet of paving are we gonna
Yeah.
get.
That, and I mean, because infrastructure entails a lot of what they do.
I understand, but before they voted for the 1% streets improvement sales tax, there was quite a bit of infrastructure that was being done out of the city budget without the extra 1% to pave the streets. See what I'm saying?
Yep.
Actually, I see exactly what he's saying. Like I said, I ran the election campaign to get this passed, and the one biggest fear
Right.
was exactly what the heck is going on right now, is that they would find a way to finagle every other thing in the world, throw it under the lump of the 1% sales tax and start using it to like clean Tombstone Canyon ditch out. And
Whatever.
you know, because that's what everybody else does with money. They'll just say, here's the money, we give it to you this, now we'll just take money away from other parts of the budget that we would have normally done and use your money to cover it.
Do we know how much money was spent last fiscal year on actual pavements versus the total amount that was?
See, that's where that's what this one's good at. This tells you exactly what we spent, except for the salaries and other thing on materials for stuff. Like it was $1,620 for the asphalt for the pothole repairs.
So
See, that's
if you
just kind of
were to
thing.
compare how this price changes
Yeah.
versus the labor price,
And there's
you
the
know,
labor.
if this keeps the same and that fluctuates a lot,
It's
then
like-
you can tell how much you're working on
But
paving.
basically now, the only salaries that were coming out of the 1% sales tax was when the infrastructure people were actually working on paving the streets. The rest of the time, the money came out of the general fund or another fund for streets. Now, all the salaries, 24/7, 365, it appears to be being covered by the 1% sales tax. Whether they're out there mowing the lawn somewhere or fixing a street sign somewhere, now that's coming out of our money.
I mean,
So that was a
do
big,
we
that was
know-
a big issue when we first
not-
voted this in, that's what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
I'm
But
not
that's the point.
doubting you. I'm just
It's a-
like, I don't know if we.
What we're
do
doing is
we
not
know
illegal, or what they're doing is not, they literally have legitimate legal basis for what they're doing, but it was basically the fear of the public. Knowing this, if the public finds this out, they will never give you another penny. That's the problem you have with this public view, is gonna go, well, we gave you this money to do this with, now you're using it for all these other things, which is kind of what we were afraid you were gonna do with it anyway, why should we wanna do it again? It was very hard sell to get this passed the first time. They get wind of this, they're probably not gonna pass another one if they need it. They'll just say, let the streets rot, let the Bermuda grass take them over, why should we waste any more money?
Well, I
That's the
kind of
problem.
came up with a formula that I thought might work, since, I don't really feel qualified to micromanage this month after month. But assuming that we had a $720,000 collection on the 1% sales tax, we'll just we'd call it 700,000 because that's an annual collection. And then assuming that the general fund transfer was gonna be 10%, that would leave us with, $630,000. And the asphalt, I have learned, is about $1 a square foot to pave. And the labor costs, which I have inquired about from the mayor, and they say, well, I said, normally, when I get a bill I'm a contractor, the parts seem to be as much as the labor, and And they said, oh no, the labor was less than $1 a square foot to put the pavement down. But the labor, that seems to be something that we could figure out.
Yeah.
And so then you might expect that you could get, so if you thought that the labor might be 50 cents a square foot to put down, I don't know, I'm just guessing there, then you might guess that we could put down 150,000 square feet of paving, minus whatever improvements to infrastructure are taken out of the streets and infrastructure budget. And since the infrastructure, since almost, there's so much infrastructure that needs to be repaired, but it was kind of voted on as the streets and infrastructure. And the infrastructure I thought was going to be like curbs and sidewalks and striping, and I didn't envision that it was going to be retaining walls and drainage, projects, and except as it directly related to a street. And so it seems to me that you could expect to, if you, spent $300,000 a year in labor, then you might have 300,000 you might expect, a taxpayer might expect that they could look at these numbers and see 300,000 square feet of asphalt had been put down. Following me? And it's a rather, except for the part where the infrastructure got thrown in there by Joan Hanson. Well, it's streets and infrastructure. So really any infrastructure can be taken out of the streets and infrastructure. But I think that if you were to run that by the average person that voted for it, they would have said their understanding was the streets were going to get fixed with that money. And while there would be some infrastructure, the infrastructure would be like curbs and.
We already had the money for the infrastructure, we didn't have money to pay
And I would
streets.
say,
That's what it was.
Right.
I believe the majority is for streets.
Sure.
The majority.
Right. Well, in order to keep me from
mortgage
thinking
writer.
every month what's going on, did we spent $58,000 for 3 tons of asphalt to put potholes in just in the month of November maybe, and then multiply that by December, January, February, and half of March. That's starting to look like maybe we're just financing the public works department out of the 1% sales tax. See what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying. Yeah, so you're wanting to see
If we could
what
just.
the money is going between, because we have what was left is 221 and what was before was 278. Where did that money right there go because we weren't paying it, pretty much?
Well, it's the big picture kind of thing where, I think in January we can say, look, we're going to have a budget of X, and then, if it's $1 a square foot for asphalt and 50 cents a square foot for labor, then we can reasonably expect to pave. We can identify a target in January of how many square feet we might look forward to paving by the time it gets too cold to pave in November.
So the difference is 57,000. I don't know what, honestly, because I don't get to see everything that, all the payments and where they're putting them.
Right.
But that's something we can look into and see because one of our secretaries up front, she's the one that puts in the codes for purchases. So that's one thing we can look into and saying, hey, what is really going into there, and should it all go into there and not just into our regular streets budget? Where, and I understand most of it probably is all of the main stuff should be coming from our day-to-day stuff from the regular streets budget. So
Do we know how much a year we get from the 1% sales tax?
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much, I mean, that's,
It varies month to month, but it runs about $60,000 on the average. So 12 sixes is $720,000.
Sometimes it's 45, sometimes it's 80.
Yeah,
And then there's HERF money too,
and it's a
but
7-year tax,
8
8-year tax?
years.
Okay, so we
sunset
knew
clause.
we had a pretty good idea what was gonna come in. And Jesus is new at this game. So when did the tax start?
Shit, we voted in 2014, I think it started right after that giant,
So under another
2015.
public works director and another city
Oh,
manager?
yeah, it started, we actually started before Dave Smith. Actually, Dave Smith was a member of this board when it first came back in to convene with that, and I think Ron Hurtley was still mayor.
If it
Or
had
was
been
it-
a
no,
tranquil
I'm not sure.
time in city government, the public works director would have had a 8-year plan developed
Yeah,
for paving,
we did, we have it.
okay?
Yeah.
And he would have had a pretty good idea of how much money he wanted to spend every year on materials and labor. And it would just be a simple matter of going back and assessing how successful they were each year since
No, that
2014.
was Randy Heradic, yeah, there was an already 8-year plan, it says, these are the streets we're gonna do
Okay.
this year, and this is the streets we're gonna, the second year, third year. We basically the idea in the early meetings was, We would try and stick that as close to possible, but for like time and money savings, and especially if somebody called up and there was a giant hole that you could fall into and break your leg, any public health and safety prioritized anything else. So there's been a couple of times, like on Commerce Street, they had a big old huge hole that just opened up. And the one somebody looked at it, went, "Oh shit, we got to fix that." But yeah,
So we should be in a position where each year, Jesus can sit down and say, okay, here was our target, here's how we did.
actually, we're
Or-
right on
Right,
target.
right.
Pretty
That's
much, we
what
were
you
right
do.
on target.
Right.
Okay.
And we still are pretty
Yeah,
much
last
right
year
on
we were-
target. Yeah.
Pretty good.
It's a big
target.
sheet. It's about it's one of those
Yeah.
size papers
Love
that
my
folds
stuff.
up, and yeah.
And so Jesus is actually revamping that by this new software.
Because we moved
Yes.
some things up. Because we got ahead.
Yeah.
The first year we did a whole bunch more than
I
I thought we
work-
were, and we did some of the
Yes.
stuff in the second
Yeah,
year.
we
So
did.
we got way ahead.
So it should be able to, you enter in how the road, condition of the road is, all the roads as a liability of something that needs to be repaired, and iWork helps figure out how much is that road going to cost to repair based on the data of the condition. And and it's all,
Yes.
it knows
That's
the
good,
geo
yeah.
coordinates of like how many linear miles of road there are.
And you can plug in the cost for the materials.
Yeah, and we've started
Machine operations
like
another big
with when we
cost.
did the terraces. Me and him kind of plugged
Fuel
in
and
like
everything.
what we did and what roads we've already paved and everything. So it has data already in it. And then when we get these road assessments, it's really gonna shine and tell us, hey, you're gonna need this much money to do this plan for this year. And you're gonna need this much to do this.
You know
It's
what?
it'll really show us out. We don't have to necessarily, hey, go buy it by the book. Like you said, if there's stuff that come up, or hey, this really needs to get done, whatever. But it gives us a plan.
There's another big hidden cost that we don't really discuss much, and that's, because we do have a lay-down machine, a dump truck, and 2 big rollers and a rubber-tired roller. The cost to maintain those is quite a bit, and that might be part of the money we talk about, because we never addressed, how much does that cost too? Because there's salaries, which you're thinking that might be extreme, but we've got to look at because you didn't mention it when you were talking about, how much does it cost to operate those machines? Because that comes out of our fund too, and that's,
Yes.
I just operate a vehicle for just driving down the road. It's like, 25 cents a mile for that. These things are probably quite expensive to
Yeah,
maintain.
especially it depends on
Yes.
the trucks too. Like our trucks, not our trucks, but K&G's. It all depends on if they're hitting hard against the paver.
Yeah.
Because all kinds of things put into
I'm just like a
repairs.
regular maintenance. You've got to clean the lay down machine and
Yeah.
cost to do that. You've always got to keep this.
We
stuff
just
cleaned up,
redid,
oiled,
put in new
maintained,
augers
greased.
and everything too.
Yeah, so that's
so.
all expenses that come out of
So our
there.
discussion that they had at the
I'm just
council
trying to see
meeting
where
the
that,
other
just
night.
can't see where that is.
With
So
regards
yeah,
to,
it's towards the
enterprise.
Oh, here it is, equipment repair and
Are they
maintenance.
looking at
Well, I'm sure it was
public
more than
Vehicle parts,
308
something
bucks.
like that?
vehicle
Vehicles
parts
as
and
well,
labor
or
is
just-
4,821. That's a couple lines down. I
With
think
the-
all 5 of
to
those
get with
lines
Enterprise?
are
Yeah,
repair-
fleet service.
We're doing
related to
that
it.
with our regular
And
vehicles.
I would
Okay.
be repairing them in the
Because I
winter.
don't think Enterprise
You know,
does anything.
when you're not
with
paving.
dump trucks and stuff. I wish they did.
But there's
Yeah,
something you have to,
well,
like
we
every
have a
time
dump
you use
truck
it, you
and
got
a
to
fleet
grease certain
services.
Oh,
things after you
okay.
when you do
Yeah.
that. There's
Well,
things
we
you
might-
gotta do
I
every
mean,
time you
as
use
I
far
it.
was
as-
just curious, more of a curiosity
Yeah,
question. than
but yeah,
anything.
we are. We're starting out with like 1 or 2, and then as Enterprise, yeah.
Well, the point I was trying to make was that if we could come up with an annual goal, for how many square feet of asphalt, that would be much easier to, and then I don't have to worry about whether we're busy in May and slow in November, or, you know what I mean, if it gets laid down and the way that everybody agrees is reasonable, then
Yeah.
that's the best that the taxpayers can hope for.
Because we also get this 400 some odd $1,000 of HER funds, and that covers a whole lot of the expenses in here too.
Well, that existed before the 1% sales
Yeah,
tax, so if
yeah.
I'm saying only interested in the marginal increase with the 1% sales tax, then it doesn't seem fair to say, but we also get the HERF money, so we gotta throw that in there. But I like the idea of having standard annual goals.
Well, I mean, if you're going to separate, my point is, if you're separating things, you can say, we use the HERF money to cover these things which aren't directly street related, then we use the street money to cover these things which is street related.
Right, I understand, and then,
And if that stays in balance, then the public's gonna go, okay, you're spending our money for streets, and the other $500,000 or so, with a little bit from streets for walls, and, see, the walls, the handrails, the the gutters and that kind of stuff. If
Sidewalks.
we can show that's coming from the 441,000 HERF funding is used to cover that, and we're still using the street money's basically for street repair. It's just a PR thing. It's not like, I'm not trying to catch people and say, you're doing things wrong, you should get in trouble. I'm just saying, for the PR of it, we have to make it look like, and it has to be legitimate, but yeah, it's like if we spent $700,000 on non-street related stuff, with only 441, and had to take 200,000 of the streets money to cover like windows in the city hall building or something.
The only
That
thing
wouldn't
most
be
people
good.
see is asphalt. That's all they
Yeah,
see.
that's usually
And the
asphalt.
more asphalt they see, the happier.
Andy was great at that. He'd go, let's pave here and here, because it was like places where you could see halfway around town. Somebody on Adams Street could see you paving Sims, you know. So the visual was people all over town could see streets being paved, and that really worked well.
And then,
And even in this town, I mean, I did a work session on I saw the result of it, paving all these streets, the upper streets around an old,
Warren,
in Warren. How people just automatically started cleaning up their properties, parking correctly, keeping the dirt off the road, keeping their lawns mowed, picking the garbage up. It just literally just transformed. It became a
Little
really
bit of
nice
pride,
place because
yeah.
people now could start driving around because they're.
I think it's a
They
pride
could-
issue too, you know.
Well, it was, yeah. Well, now people can see my yard. They're not worried about potholes. They can
Yeah,
drive
and
around.
I
You know, people just
understand
did it. Yeah, it was
about-
actually increased the neighborhood pride in itself.
And the skateboarders are letting
Yeah,
it too.
I understand like the moving around, people
Not now.
can
It's
see
too
it
much
more,
computer grass growing.
but it's
not good for skating.
it's not very practical for the street crew also, and hopping around and stuff, because we gotta move all that stuff, and it's just,
Yeah.
especially the guys, they do a good job, and they like, and it's true, it's good to get in one place and do a good job where we're at, instead of doing a job and then, oh, hey, we need to go pay up there, and then leave something undone,
Well, that's kind of what happened
Here.
in Warren, below Arizona Street.
so.
But we needed to get to Old Bisbee soon because we promised them we'd do some work in that section the next year. So we got as far
Old
as we could
Bisbee,
in
you
Warren and
guys
we added some of the
Should
terrace.
drive around on the side streets. They are horrendous.
Oh, yeah.
They are just on the brink of complete.
That's what we need to do. The study needs to be redone because a lot of the streets that were sort of marginal and okay for a few years when we first started have now deteriorated probably faster than we thought they were.
Yeah.
And
Well,
they're now fully
yeah.
failed.
And I think generally they deteriorate faster because of how water flows down them. And
Gravity and stuff like that.
but in regards to Old Bisbee and retaining walls, most of them are being used that are to hold up streets, and those are the ones that are. So you can't. It'd be silly to pave the street and then a year later it collapses and takes out a neighborhood. Like that's not. You can't do that. So
Old Bisbee is about half done, half paved, close to half.
but that was a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They keep chipping away at it.
Well, I think that concludes the discussion of the old business. Let's go on to the new
Next
business.
Which kind of includes a little what we talked about.
Discussion and possible approval of the nomination and voting of a new chair and vice chair for the S&I committee, Streets and Infrastructure.
I think it'd be great if we could wait till we got the full complement of members before we had that election. And, you know, we're not going to meet again, if we're meeting every 60 days until March. Right. So that, and so in tangent to that, I'd like to try to identify some likely new members for the committee. I printed up 3 or 4 applications and dropped them off at places that, you know, I brought them over to Freeport McMoran and left them with the greeting officer there, and she said she'd bring them inside and show them to the people.
Well, I'd love to have some of those at this table, one of those guys.
Yeah, but not many of them live in Bisbee. You know, the
I
one.
know you have to live in Bisbee. Well, no, you can get a waiver. I don't live in Bisbee. You can actually get a waiver by council.
Yeah, well,
So you can be out of town. You are allowed to do that.
it's
But
not
you'd rather not if
right.
you don't have to.
I even went by Elmo's, St. Elmo's. I think there's some candidates in there.
But
Steve, what about Steve? Remember Steve? Didn't you?
Time of the day.
well, hey,
You got to be 10 a.m. You got to get there when it opens. You gotta get
this is a funny thing, but the Naco Sanitary District,
Yeah.
that's what they did. They held a meeting in the back room of the county thing, gathered names, and they just appointed 3 people up of the names to the Naco Sanitary District. Well, I had 154 votes last election, but still I'm not on the ballot.
But I've also been
The
by
Attorney General's having fun with this one.
the Bisbee Observer office and tried to get them to run an advertisement. I was willing to pay for it. for it, but they sounded like they were gonna run it for free. So I didn't follow up on it, but then it's been 2 months, so, you know. But if you know anybody that would like to do a little volunteer service, you know, I think that'd be great to get them
And
in
I'd
here.
love to see, this isn't a sexist statement, but I certainly would like to see another female of some sort on the board. We had Joan, or we had just at least one. The feminine side of this, you know, once in a while. Whomever you
Careful,
can
you're
get.
gonna get bike lanes and.
So,
Yeah, I mean, is that an
what's this
unwoke
slide?
statement?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Is that,
I think so.
we can go
I'm
along
not a
with
voting
that.
member, but I think that's a great idea.
Right, good.
Yeah, you should.
Then we're restriping Old Bisbee.
That's a good idea. How much is that? Well, I guess we'd have to see how much.
Restriping Old Bisbee, that will be in the
Contractor thing?
cost of the resurfacing Tombstone Canyon.
Okay, that part.
All right.
Okay.
All that will be included in whatever that price is, so.
Oh, okay, well, that was an easy discussion.
I have one other thing I want to add, and Ben Lively's excellent idea that maybe we get some parking spaces striped below the county courthouse, but that's county property.
Correct.
But-
that has been a big fight, and I've personally been asked by Andy Reddick when he was here to put up draw up a plan and everything. I drew it up. It went to the county, and they said, "Yeah, we're going to do it," and they never have.
Well, we all have county commissioners. I mean, isn't there a county commissioner that represents Bisbee on the Cochise County Commission? What's her name? The old school teacher?
Bisbee cops just start giving parking tickets every.
Could ask Ann, maybe.
Ann,
knows
right,
somebody.
Ann English, right. I think if we, you know, made it a point to go out of our way to try to contact her, whether it was email or,
Just as long as she doesn't see me.
right, or don't go.
She doesn't know what he's saying.
Right, and we, you know, because, I mean, Jesus
We
says,
have a
well, we could get some
conflict
intra-government agreement, you know, so we
Yeah.
could stripe their property. Or maybe we just get Ann English to say, it's time to get it done. But, you know, I don't think we ought to just ignore that.
I think it's definitely time to be doing that right now.
Yeah, and
So
even
it's ready
I
for
think even
paving.
the chief of Chava has gotten into that discussion too,
Okay.
trying to
Like
get that
Commerce
done.
Street behind the library, that all
Yeah,
needs to be
it's like pulling
restriped.
teeth.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but it needs to have at least some lines painted
Well,
on it.
think
Or
if
we're
the
losing like
county
3 or
is-
4 parking places because people
If the
won't park
county
close
is
enough
looking
together.
at trying to work with the city on the effluent reclaimed water, I don't see why they couldn't reciprocate by saying, hey, man, work with you, work with us.
Well, maybe if we made it clear that we didn't expect them to stripe it, we'd be happy to stripe it if they just gave us the okay. I don't know
And
what
they
kind
would gain parking spaces.
Right, and
And they would gain
Time frame permission.
non-chaos up there
Right.
sometimes.
And the nice BMWs up there won't get hit as often.
be extra parking for the church and Twee's Noodle Shop.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so let's not forget, let's all try to, you know, hold that in our minds as something we could do to,
Okay.
for striping Old Bisbee.
Do you and Jesus interface with the county people
Not a
on a
whole,
regular basis?
not much. I mean, I know some of them from the solid waste kind of side of it, but I don't know. He might know somebody in the streets part, but I don't know anybody over there.
So
that,
if you run into brick walls, can you bump it up the chain, like go to the city manager and say, hey, we're not getting any cooperation out of these people. Is there anything you can do?
we can try.
Yeah, why don't you?
I can see if he can, if there's anybody. So
Because we have a, you know, kind of a
Stride.
timeline, because it should be designed before, at least the day before the paving starts, right?
Yeah, Matt's already done it,
Yeah.
and it's just sitting.
You're an engineer. You're an engineer. You
I
use that off
did
the top of
hear
your
that.
head, right?
I talked to Chief
Yes.
Chave about it, and he's seen the drawing. He would like to see something a little different. The way I get, he said, I wasn't here back then, so
Uh-huh.
I didn't know anything about it. But how it used to be, I guess it made a big X through there. I don't know
Where was
exactly how it is, but right there where the park above the Iron Man, right there. I guess he said how the road used to be what made an X, when there was parking up on the top part, right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But
I
that
don't know. What
doesn't
I-
seem as efficient as having an L-shaped parking lot.
That is correct. Yeah, that is
Yeah.
correct.
And was that your
Well,
design, L-shaped?
No, I had a spine right down the middle.
Spine.
Going, well, on the left side by Contessa's, it would be coming down. They were going like this, and then coming up by the church side, you'd be pulling out.
Ben had some of his
So, yeah.
undergraduates work on
Oh,
this.
look, we have a whiteboard, this is great.
Yeah, so
Here you got pictures.
there's,
I love it.
there's dumpsters here, there's a pickleball parking thing, whatever contested thing there.
There's not dumpsters anymore.
Oh, okay, so they're gone. There's screaming, there's the creek, then there's the courthouse like this.
Yep.
And one idea was to block this whole thing in, and then all the cars go this way. And then your idea,
Is
or there's
it's
other cars.
it's simple. Yeah, we'll change it. It's
I
I can do pretty much like this. It's we have the courthouse right here, the Iron Man here. Okay. We have driving from pretty much here. So we're pretty much gonna try and block this area off so nobody tries to get close to hitting anything right in that island, and then have from here a spine down the middle. Pretty much. So you can still have traffic going in, they can park. If they need to leave, they can pull out, go that way, or they can pull out and come this way. Because you'll still have to, and then that would allow traffic then to come here, go in, back out, leave.
And has Chief Achave seen that plan?
He has.
Can
And
you
then
still
he
go
said
around?
he had some improvements that he wanted to make?
No, how he likes it, I don't know. How he said something about how, I guess it used to be when he was young, and that's how it used to be at the beginning and everything, was that it pretty much made an X. And then there's parking like that up here, up like this. So you could drive through here, but that way it limits the parking.
Yes,
But he said that was the way it was.
had been.
It had been.
But he didn't say that it was, in his opinion, that was extra safe or anything.
No,
was
he said
playing the
he
safety.
did say how I had put it, or however, it doesn't matter who put it, but was the most, that would provide the most parking, is having it come all the way down.
Right,
And you wouldn't have
Right.
much of a crossover, because
Right.
you can even bring that all the way down to here, and you couldn't cross this way, because you just have parking all the way down.
and if you put those
You
parking
can still go up behind the
chalks
courthouse
in
and
there,
come
you
back
know,
down.
the front
Yeah,
tires
yes,
roll
yes.
up, then you'd
That's
stop
around
people,
the
you'd
back.
stop people from driving through.
You can go drive around the town.
They pull in and back out, pull in and back out.
Yeah. So yeah, I would have that
Pretty
come
sure
down.
there's room to, it's still so wide, there's still gonna be a room at
Yeah, it's
parking.
real wide.
Or maybe parallel parking or
I saw
something.
Well, you
dumpsters
have
there
a-
a week ago.
Huh?
I saw dumpsters there outside of the wall that goes up, both to support the parking lot of St. Patrick's. I was eating at the High Desert Cafe, and there were dumpsters out there.
Over here?
Contessa's actually got
Or
their
over
parking
by
there already.
Contessa?
No, over by St. Patrick's.
Contessa's already got their parking there, so.
Okay. Because
Yeah.
they were told to move them.
And
So,
there's
Oh, well, I don't know. It was 2 weeks ago,
But yeah, and then this version,
We have parks down there, yeah.
like that.
Oh,
well,
I
the,
see,
the
yeah.
parking above or next to
I see.
Contessa's is county also.
Yeah, this-
County.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lights Avenue.
County,
parking lot.
and then this part right here is city, right in between, right in the middle where the drainage is.
Was there a drain ditch? Yeah, what ditch, you gotta walk over to get into the.
Yeah, so-
Okay.
Well, maybe we should come behind, we don't have to do it tonight, but we should pick a plan that we all agree on, that we can recommend to everybody, so we're not telling people 2 or 3 different things when they say, well, yeah, we'll stripe, but we'll,
Whichever one has the most parking spots is what I vote for.
Yeah, me too.
All right.
We also need the most parking, but also the safest flow, so we,
get Chief
Well,
Achave
yeah.
to give
Yeah,
us
he's
his
gotta
blessing.
sign off on it.
Safety third, guys.
yeah, and you also have to figure out how many. I measured it at one time when I had drawn it. I had measured that whole spine and figure out how many exactly I could do. I don't remember. We'd have to go and remeasure it, see Because there's a
It's
certain
like
width,
30.
especially with angled parking, there's a certain width and length that they have to be for MUCTD, so.
Do you use computer programs to? Set
I
that up?
haven't, I need to. I haven't.
Do you have a copy of the parking thing that you created a year or two ago?
I don't think so, I gave it to Andy.
Okay,
So-
say no more. All right, so if we could come up with a drawing,
Yeah, I can come up with something.
right?
And I can have my guys go out and measure out. I might just go out and measure myself. So that, and then
got a
we
couple
can,
months.
we'll check it. And I'll see if we can make any parking over here. Because we do have this concrete pad where the dumpsters used to be. But I think there was rollouts there.
Yeah.
And then we do have that bus stop there that we have to think about too.
In your discussions with the county, were you expecting them to do the striping and work, or did you offer to do it yourself?
I believe Andy, because I wasn't in that conversation, but I believe Andy said that they said that they were going to do it. Because I also, when I did this this parking deal, I also did the one up above and planned that, and they actually painted that one,
There's
but
something.
they never did this one.
See, as you go up on the county, in that area, there's no parking signs there. But there's no lines there. If you put lines there, you could probably make sure you could probably get 3 or 4 cars there. The other side, there's no parking, but people park there anyway.
Yes, they do.
But if you actually had delineated spots, you could probably
Yeah.
actually get 4 cars where mostly 2.5 or 3.
We gotta
would
be
park
careful
out.
here too, because we have the entrance going
The
to
church.
the St. Pat's also.
Yeah, that's kind of why they don't want
It
you
necks
parking there.
down pretty good right there, especially
It's
after
below
that
that, I'm talking,
entrance.
because
So
it's actually pretty wide.
I'll go and measure for that and see what we can do up there.
Do you have any of those drawings, Ben, that your undergraduates made for you?
Well, they weren't technically my students, but I did help them a lot. Yeah, I've got a PDF, should be somewhere on my computer.
Why don't you bring that to the next meeting?
Yeah.
And we'll see if we can't choose one that we can recommend to Ann English and
Yeah.
tell her we do the stripes ourselves because we're rebating
Yeah.
and see if we can get that done.
It's always better to have more.
They did drawings of some things and
She's
other
looking
things
for
that were
votes, you know.
just,
Actually,
schematic.
I think
like
she's gonna
ideas.
run, yeah.
So
I think I was gonna run
they
too against her.
definitely didn't measure anything.
all right, retaining walls and stairs in Old Bisbee.
Well, I put that one on there, so I think we already pretty much talked about. My point of view of it is if the wall is holding up a road and the wall is about to fail or failing, should be repaired before it fails when it's cheaper. It's way more expensive to rebuild it from scratch, especially if things get damaged and people get sued. And there are a lot in Old Bisbee that are leaning out past. There's different classifications of, how much is this thing allowed to lean, right? It's
Not
in
much.
it's in engineering textbooks. A lot of them are beyond vertical, like 88, 89, 50.
You're not supposed to lean.
It's like, why is it still there?
Like, how much is it supposed to leave? No, it's not supposed to.
Yeah. So
But-
Towards
opera,
it, maybe.
opera going up to Tempe, there's a parking lot where there's dumpsters. So you're kind of going up, and you can keep going on Opera, or you can take a sharp left and go up Tempe.
Yes.
Right. So Opera on the right side, that was freshly paved 4 years ago. Andy paved that 3 years ago or something like that.
Andy didn't pave it.
But anyway,
Anyway.
it's recently.
Yeah. So not that long ago. So what's happening is it's a stone and concrete retaining wall, the worst kind.
Yes.
It's
Starting to
leaning-
lean away from it already.
Yeah, so it's leaning out like this, past vertical. Really, it's supposed to be going in. The street's like this. There's sewer lines and stuff in there, railing, dumpster, and there's proof that it's creeping because there are new cracks here, and this is starting to settle. So it's kind of expanding and pulling away. This one's a really easy one to fix because there's no houses right here.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a parking lot. I don't know who owns it.
We do.
But, okay, I mean, my opinion of fixing that, put some buttresses, call it a day.
Flying buttresses.
Yeah, so yeah, we could do some beautiful like arch things. Or
Right.
get some, I don't know.
Well, I talked to Jesus
Let's
about that.
exhume some Romans.
He said he definitely wanted to have that engineered. He wanted to have some real engineers come. I told him he could just frame it and put some rebar in there and then pour concrete,
Yeah.
and then, just.
Well, I think he has to.
Right, but so I think he's aware. But I do agree with your principle that we ought not to pave streets that are getting ready to have their retaining walls fixed. That would be a legitimate reason to put off paving Tembe
Concertina one.
until the retaining wall was
And
fixed.
strategically as well, and this goes to water and sewer, is if these are old pipes, then there should be coordination with the water company and the sewer to redo those as well too. Because what you don't want is brand new asphalt, brand new retaining
Yeah.
wall, and then a year later you're ripping up that asphalt because
So what we did,
Go ahead.
Arizona Water, what we did is we invited ADEQ to come down. They walked Maxfield, Subway. We also went to Tembe. 3 places in Warren. We went on Briggs and Powell.
Tembe's got some bad pipes.
We went there on Rupee and on Black Knob. And the biggest thing that we wanted to show them is that if you're going to replace the water mains, you have no sewer clearance. It doesn't exist. And one of the biggest challenges that we wanted them to see is the pavers that are going up Maxfield and around the corner there. That there's no main that goes there, but in order for us to reroute that, what are you going to do with that? What is ADEQ? What is their thought process with that when we're trying to seek approval and they're giving me, okay, minimum water main installation is 6-inch diameter. Okay, so where am I going to put 6-inch diameter pipe on a roadway like that and still have the sewer? So I think it was a good visit for them to come down and take a look and see what we're up against, while at the same time creating some dialogue about grants that ADEQ might be able to present or give us channels, avenues that small utilities, whether they be private or public, cities that have very minimal budget might be able to obtain. So that's the discussion that's taken place and started. And I think that continued with the fire suppression that Grant Ryder was working on. Arizona Water Company participated in that as well, as far as support mechanism and infrastructure documentation. So I think all of that was good to have ADEQ come down and see what we're up against down here. So good visit.
I get it.
And as far as in the past, what I can only say what, because I was before when all the other paving was done, is I was in the streets, so I didn't know what went on in the office or between Andy and Arizona Water. But what he told us is every time we pave, we would let Arizona Water know, hey, we're paving, and pretty much the thing is, they have old pipes. They don't have all the money to replace everything.
Right.
So it's like, do we not pave streets or do we pave them? Because
And in kind, the city, if we had the system improvement benefits structure in place because our water loss is so high. So what that enabled us to do is it affords us additional revenues to replace these aging mains, especially at the critical juncture. So we were asking the city, hey, we do have the money to do this one. Can you hold off at least till we're done? And so we've been able to do quite a bit of work that way.
Yeah.
And
not everything, but
No.
that's just how
sometimes
it
they were just, you guys had to do what you had to do, and we just went out there to make sure we could find all the valves and the meters.
Otherwise, you gotta put asphalt. You know, if you cut the street, you gotta put new asphalt back over it.
Right,
Your
yeah,
house, right?
with the
So-
sunset clause, yeah, we can't even touch that anymore without some major penalties. So the idea was if we could get in there with either grant money or money from another division that would help us infrastructure wise, then that's what we were trying to achieve. And we did it for the most part, quite a bit.
Yeah.
I've been here since 2014 and we were successful on 11 projects in Bisbee, so that's about 5,000 linear feet of new main. It's pretty good.
So I guess just keeping the dialogue as you guys start planning what streets are worst, what needs to be done as far as paving and retaining wall.
Yeah.
Just call up the water company, be like, look, we're planning on doing this. Do you guys need to get in there?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And that's what they've done in
Appreciate
the
it.
past too.
Yeah.
Is
Thank you.
try and
So Tombstone's all clear from the waterworks point of view?
Tombstone Canyon?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have, our concern on Tombstone Canyon was the issue with that retaining wall right there across from Tombstone Canyon Booster Station.
We mean this, we're talking
Yeah,
about a
by
water
Moon
pump?
Canyon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right there by Moon,
Yeah.
between Moon and, I forget
Star.
the next one.
Star
Star.
Moon, Star, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was our
Something like
concern
that.
there, because we've got two mains running through there, a
A
return
big
line.
tank right across the street too.
Yeah, so there was some discussion that there was a failure there, I think when Dwayne was here. So that was our biggest concern, but we didn't have a leak there, and I think they had an engineer do a structural analysis on that. I don't know what, I really haven't seen it.
Oh, hey,
Have you been up to Tempe to see where that street is kinda shaky there?
Yeah,
And there's a water main right there.
yes, sir.
Is that water main causing that problem?
No. We did, the same way with Tombstone Canyon, we went in and, we were fortunate, we have, what they call the loggers, correlators, and we're able to put on the mains at night when nobody's using any water to hear.
See how much
And
is-
we've been able to pinpoint, we've had quite a few on Maxfield, but Tempe, for the most part, we haven't had too many issues there, but yeah, we do about 38 to 30, between 38 and 50,000 linear feet of leak detection every month. So with an aging infrastructure like that, you have to, but we've been trying to maintain that. Our latest problematic area has been OK Street. The main's only 6 inches deep, but that's been a problem for us. Up towards Youngblood Hill and back towards the.
OK Street's another road retaining wall. I don't know what the condition of it is, but it's a really high retaining wall. So,
Yeah.
if that thing were to go, it's gonna take out some. It's not gonna be fun.
Right, and we have New Main. If you go past, if you go up Youngblood Hill and you curve back around on OK Street, we're new. That's ductile iron all the way up to the top. But there's a juncture of valves there we'd like to renew and then take New Main all the way back towards Brewery at the entrance there on Knockle Road. Because we're new on the ends, we just like to make it new all the way. But that's going to be some doing there.
Yeah.
That would require some
That's new
temporary road
asphalt too,
closures.
right?
Yep. So that's,
Some rock.
can't rush on that one, we have to wait.
And some rock hammer chisel.
OK Street is new asphalt.
It's newer towards,
Yeah.
past that, first set of steps that takes you down to Brewery. When you get past Hotel Lemoore, that's all new that way. Newer,
Smooth, yeah.
yeah.
But we haven't paved it in the last 5 years, I don't think.
Close to 5 years now, because I thought they paved it like in 13,
I don't remember. That would have I would have paved it, but it's slipped my mind. So, and then as far as the other retaining walls, I mean, the one at Moon, that's going to I forget where that is right now, but that's still up in the air
Yeah.
on that. And then the other two, I think there's two more. The one on OK Street up at the top, and then I forget where the other one is.
Well, the one at Moon, that's in front of Dwayne's house. That one
Yes.
actually has an issue with not being able to have the capacity to hold floodwater. And I think a 50-year flood, so that's another issue, which may get you grant money. Flood control, that's a whole other
How would
issue,
you
for
even
grant money too,
fix
so.
that?
Yeah.
You could only make it wider.
Is it just me or is it hot in here?
It is. We can, everybody's gone. We can.
Well, you know, it's
Doors.
like basic. Well, they literally have to build the retaining wall up higher, then backfill everything and bring the level of that parking lot up higher
until it's almost level with the people front yard between
Yeah.
Moon and
Yeah,
Dwayne.
it-
Because Dwayne, you drive down to his house and you gotta walk up a set of stairs into his yard.
Yeah, that could actually make it even worse for him. Because then when it does go over, it goes into his house, not.
Well, it still needs.
Okay, the
higher.
Paris study review. I never really knew what that was. The Paris study.
PARA study?
Yeah, PARA.
So the PARA study
Payment
was,
assessment.
the PARA study was some sort of engineering study of all of the concrete and retaining walls around Old Bisbee and street conditions. Right.
I've heard about, yeah.
So
I
I
maybe,
didn't remember until
It was-
you talked
It was
about it.
conducted before the 1%,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And that,
That's right.
I think it was done 10 years ago or something, and
Oh,
it was done with grant money.
you could give us an update on who's responsible for that and
And an engineer went along with Tito and Larry. They went and walked with the engineers and did a survey of all of the infrastructure that's decaying. And I think out of that they fixed a bunch of stuff, but a lot of stuff still is.
needs work.
Yeah,
Is there a hard copy of that study?
I've never seen it.
I've heard of it. I'd have
PAR.
to.
Who in the
Larry or
city would be
Tio, I know
able
where
to-
there's a copy of it.
We can look. We have files back there. It just all depends on if they were at City Hall, if they were in the vaults or not.
Oh.
If they were in the vaults, we have them.
Okay.
If they weren't, we don't.
Okay.
I bet Larry Phillips has it. I'll call Larry
Yeah, I'll
Phillips.
bet Larry
and
has it.
see if he's got it.
So
Yeah,
I'll see. I'll look. I put a question mark on that.
Okay. But Lawrence to check with Larry Phillips.
But I think, if anything, it can serve as a template, reading through it and what they observed as the worst retaining walls. We can go back and check up on them again and be like, yeah, they're bad.
Well, it's a roadmap to,
Yeah.
you can prioritize from something like that. Studies like that are always of value. Trouble is, they never get retained, the next
Yeah,
regime comes in and, what's this? I don't know.
archives.
Yeah.
What's that round archive container?
I got excited when I heard about those brownfield studies that seemed like they were going to fix environmentally challenged sites.
Yeah, the Cochise County.
Yeah. Did
Yeah, have you guys heard any of that? I went to the first meeting like 6 months ago. Before
There aren't
they got
any
to it.
environmentally challenged sites in Cochise County. At least that's what they'll tell you. Everything's environmentally sound.
But it's a
normally
grant.
a mining town? Didn't they just remediate a bunch of soil and
got all the
stuff?
water in the world.
Freeport
We need to
McMoran.
build more housing.
I think that's
Yeah,
ongoing.
well, I thought too
Ongoing.
Yeah.
that there was some NAT bank money that was supposed to go towards some of those repairs from that study. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
here's
just
what I
heard,
heard you
too.
too, is like, the new trade deal includes $300 million for international water border issues in its language from Mexico. So there's gonna be how much more money invested in that, like Tijuana and Naco and that issue. Because all our EPA grant funding this last round was signed off by the governor to give the Naco Sonora to fix their wastewater treatment because he wasn't gonna give a penny to this county because of some of the crap I got him doing and reported. There's a reason they're not getting grant money around here. That's why Ann English does not like me so much.
Who's Dan Coxworth?
I pointed some fingers and Nad Bank and those guys.
I've heard of him. I don't know who he is.
He's
had personal
works in
conversations
planning,
with their
I think.
leaders.
Who does he do?
But
Works in
anyway,
planning,
that's funny.
Cochise County.
And the
Well,
algae is blooming. It's
right?
Zoning and planning? What's it? He works in
Greenbush
planning?
again.
He's county.
Something like that, yeah.
And he knows about this stuff.
Yeah, he's in charge of the Brownfield survey grant. survey.
Brownfield. That's just like
So
big
that's
open space.
contaminated.
Right? Contaminated.
Yeah, but it's also buildings.
Asbestos,
retaining wall, asbestos,
Lead,
lead,
anything where something
mold.
black mold.
City Hall had
gasoline
mold.
contamination.
Yeah, City Hall
Okay,
basement.
so basically anywhere like somebody
City
really dumps
Hall.
some stuff.
But it's not from what I learned, it's not a grant to fix the stuff. It's the first step of studying them. So what's up with City Hall? What's up with this? What's up with that? So kind of like the PARA study, I think. These are hazardous things, that thing's about to collapse. This is contaminated with oil and copper. And then the next step is to get the stuff fixed, which would be another grant.
Oh, so you get a grant to do an assessment, and then from the
I don't-
assessment, you go get other grants.
Yeah, so it's like, is it shovel ready? Yes, it is, because we got this grant to see what's wrong with it.
He's the
And then
Director of
engineer it.
Development Services for the county. Boy, that's about as vague as I can.
The what?
He's the Director of Developmental Services for the county, Cochise County.
Who's that?
Ed
Coxworth.
Coxworth.
Coxworth, okay.
Well, I'd like to see some
Doesn't really say what he does, though.
Yeah, what does he do?
That's a big-
I noticed
that's
a
a
lot
big
about
title.
that.
Bring you the power study at our next meeting,
But,
It's all kind of loosely defined in this county.
which will be
in Brownfield, so
Okay.
we should put Brownfield
February,
March, right?
March, right, we're skipping February, we're going to March. And is it the fourth Thursday in March?
I didn't bring my schedule.
It should be the fourth Thursday in March.
March 26th.
All right.
Next meeting.
Leslie was at that meeting as well.
Leslie?
Yeah, or the council person.
March 26th, you said?
At the
26th,
Brownfield, the
Thank
Brownfield
you,
grant meeting, Cochise County grant
Yeah.
on Brownfields.
So I don't know if she's kept track of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if any of my funding sources have anything to do with this. I can look at it.
All right. Any member comments?
I just wanted to add that I echo what Lawrence was talking about with finding some more candidates and maybe shoring that up so we can get a chairman and a vice chairman for the
Yeah.
committee.
I know a carpenter that lives on Moon Canyon, I know I can get him, Bill Bank. Want a carpenter?
Sure.
Well, we need somebody in the position of chairperson that actually has some sort of.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
He is,
Yeah, I've been on this committee a long time, and I do not want to be a chairperson. I do not have the mental thing for. I'm not organized enough to be a chairperson kind of thing. That's just me. I could be a vice chair, but yeah.
vice
Not that
chair.
nice psychologist. What's her name?
You know, we could all maybe, before, the idea is, everybody might want to review the proper procedure for nominations and stuff of members and within a board group. It's a specific little thing, and like Title 6 or 7 of.
Yeah.
Of the Arizona
Susan will be here
handbook,
for that
but-
one, so
Yeah.
they'll know.
Yeah.
It's real easy to understand, but anybody can, basically it boils down to, anybody can nominate themselves. They don't have to second a nomination. That's pretty much what it boils down to. For any position.
So, any other
Nominations don't have to be
member
seconded, people
comments?
can nominate other people.
Stuff?
No.
320.
I don't have any comments really. The only other thing that I know is coming for streets is in the new fiscal year we are looking to purchase a skid steer for the streets division, including that we're getting one that will be able to work a planer for like working on the for if we need a plane down the asphalt, which if certain areas, if like if we're paving a road that actually has a curb, we can plane that side so it's down lower, so we can actually come in and meet the edge or whatever else, different things that and that's just one thing. But we're looking to get a used one. We're not going to buy a new one.
That's a little
What is
grinder,
it? What is
with a grinder tool
what does
on
a
it.
skid steer cost?
A used one we're looking around 40 also, but that
It's a pretty good price.
is going to be coming from streets. So
Our budget, streets and
Yeah.
And what's it do exactly?
uh,
I know what the planer does, but what's the skid steer do?
skid steer, it's a smaller.
Bobcat,
Oh.
Yeah.
right?
So
So Bobcat.
yeah, we're looking at like Empire Cat ones, and then tracked ones is what, but they are get into some of the smaller areas, especially in Old Bisbee, that we can't like get our backhoes into, and they do a lot of their attachments. They have the auger attachments and different stuff, and snow blowers that we're looking
Stephen
to get
will like
also.
this. They're
So-
really good for cleaning out ditches.
That
Yeah, we could use one of the Greenbush, the algae plumes on Wilson Road in the pond there. Now, if you want to go look at that.
so, but yeah, we're looking
I
to
think it
get
has to do
that.
with the effluent, but-
That'll be a good benefit to the street
Cool
department.
thing.
I would add another piece of equipment might be the, I don't know what you call it. I thought it would
Oh,
be the
the-
oil truck, but the
oh,
thing
the,
that fill
crack
cracks.
sealer?
Yeah.
I did mention that to Jesus, but he didn't really want to buy one because they can be a really big pain. He said he'd rather just maybe rent one of those.
Okay.
if we need,
don't
or hire like K&G to
Yeah,
crack seal or
'cause-
something like that.
This time
But-
of year,
Oh, as far
No time.
with my comments,
not available.
I do want to mention one thing
Right.
with this oil distributor
Well, if we
truck.
have
It will save us a lot of money. One, with sealing roads. One, because we got a quote from K&G to do like Copper, Nugget, Mountain View, that kind of neighborhood down there to fog seal that whole neighborhood that we had done, and the like Yucca and what the other ones that come up to Naco Highway also, pretty much from Perfect Road down on Naco Highway. And that was 48,000, just in those streets. So we're buying this truck around 50,000, maybe just a little over with taxes, and
itself,
it
huh?
holds 2,000 gallons of tack oil, and we can do a lot
Yeah,
more streets.
And then there's labor, so.
Yeah, and then there's labor and all that stuff, but yeah, it's gonna save a good amount of money, also. So
Well, good, we're making progress. I motion we adjourn.
second that.
I would second if I could.
okay, and 6:55.